Hey, how y'all doing out there today? Listen, I'm going to talk about a really touchy subject matter because it affects so many of us, and I'm only going to use. I want before I get started, I just want to let you know that I'm only going to use the history of it and tell you a brief history of it, and then the own personal things that I've actually seen that most all of you have seen for yourself. And I want you to kind of put these together, and then I want you to think about how we should be treating illnesses like ADD and ADHD, and where things really came from, and how some things just ain't good for us. It's like some things that feel good just ain't good for us, and we know it. I say this out of love, and I say this because it is insane. It is insane what's going on in our country right now. It is insane what I just saw and have witnessed for the last couple of years of my life in West Virginia and Ohio. Three years in Ohio, and those people. This use of this drug is incredible, and it's being pumped out. And y'all, excuse me, I got a really bad cold. Y'all know, as y'all well know, the government does this. So the brief history on it. Amphetamines were actually created by the Germans around 1887. I didn't know this, so I just found this out myself. So I'm kind of, I love learning something new. I always thought it was the Japanese right before World War II, so we can get things mixed up. But it was by a Romanian chemist. He invented it at the University of Berlin, and from there they use it for it actually got refined in the 1920s. It wasn't even used much in the 1890s until for about 20, 30 years later, about 25 years later, they actually started using it for sinuses, runny nose, sinusitis, things like that. So it wasn't used for ADHD because there was no such thing. It wasn't used for depression or to make you feel better. That was just a side effect. It was invented to dry up the nose, and well, it wasn't invented for that. It was invented, and then it was mostly used to dry up your nose and for colds and stuff like that. So it's kind of fitting that I'm sitting here with a runny nose and talking about this because see, you don't need it. You just wipe your nose. But nobody really saw the generational effect of this. They can, nobody can see the future. It didn't seem like a bad thing, and there was a lot of pharmacology, a lot of pharma magic going on by the Rothschild family at that time, finding cures for things, inventing all kind of drugs, demonizing the witches or the woman in a community that was a healer, you know, the medicine man in the tribe, all that kind of stuff, so they could sell their snake oil and sell you something for, you know, maybe some opium or some cannabis or some cocaine or something to make you feel better. And that's why Coca-Cola got so popular, by the way, was the cocaine. So it's just another one of those things. But uh, it went on and stayed kind of a medical use. So 1887 and was invented by the Germans, excuse me, a Romanian German at the University of Berlin. Found no real use for it. 1920s they found a use for it, and pretty much up until the 60s it was used for the cold and the runny nose stuff. Now and still no real use for it. Like I said, wipe your nose. So, all right. The other thing was meth. Now, meth was invented by the Japanese. Methamphetamine, which is both very similar. One's the street drug. Basically, they don't have a prescription for that. They don't have a prescription for but and they invented it in 1893. Of course, amphetamine was invented. Methamphetamine is the monster bastard child of amphetamines. And they didn't have no use for it all the way up. I mean, period. They invented it, and I don't know. I mean, maybe some personal use. I don't know, but they didn't have any use for it until World War II, and that's why I want to start talk about the dark history of methamphetamine and amphetamine both. The history goes back to World War II, where actually I thought it was the Japanese giving it to their soldiers to enhance, you know, to combat fatigue, to combat fatigue, but for, you know, keep them, they're tired, man. You're at war. I mean, real heavy duty war. But it's also the evil side of that was to make them paranoid of the enemy, make them feel like they listen to their government and their captain, their sergeant, whatever, and that was the word of God, because the other guys were out to kill me, and that's the Japs, that's the Germans, that's the Yanks, and it, man, it helped with that paranoia big time. It also caused a lot of aggressiveness, aggressiveness and courage, you know, fake bravado that you would want to see on a battlefield. But we, look at the side effects of that. I mean, hell, you wanted it because you wanted to make somebody paranoid. You wanted to make them a better killer. You wanted to make them so they could kill longer. And as bad as that sounds, you think, okay, after World War II and learning what the Germans, the Japanese, the English, and the Americans did with their soldiers and their pilots, guess what? They still do it today. Some of that friendly fire caused over in Iraq in 2002 was caused by pilots being up 48 hours jacked up on what they get. And they get a cocktail. I was in the Navy. I heard what they get. And it's kind of like amphetamines and a big B12 boost and some vitamin boost. And it'll keep them up there for a long time. And that's what they do. But it's still used today, even knowing the side effects. I don't remember what they call it, and the truckers call it, but when they think they see something on the road and wreck their truck. So that's what it comes down to. And anybody that's ever done this drug, and I'm not gonna sit here and say I ain't, because I'm a regular human being. I was a kid and I was a young adult, and everything's all around you. You're gonna try stuff. But guess what? I like to sleep, and because of my personal history all through my family, from my mom up, or to my mom, to me at least, for sure, and what I've seen in my family, hey, I just today I see what it really is. But man, I like to sleep, and you're gonna stay up, and that talking about when it turns a kid into a zombie and it focuses on them. I do think it triggers. I'm not a doctor and I'm not a medical person. I can't. I can only say from experience and what I've seen in other people. It don't cause me to focus on one thing. I'll be jacked up doing a bunch of stuff. So some people, they say it keeps them focused, like in the classroom, the amphetamine use, which is what's used in the classroom, not methamphetamine. The amphetamine use in the classroom keeps them zoned in, and that focuses on one subject, for periods of time. So it makes that a little bit easier on them. But still, the side effects, and the way that this actually, I can't say, because I can't say it affects our DNA, but I think it affects our DNA because like I said, what I'm about to tell you now. Like I said, I don't think they knew this when they invented it. I don't think they knew it when they tried to make some wonder drug out of it. Instead of telling people the natural ways of taking care of a cold, the vitamin C, the things out there available to you, the cedar leaf teas, things like that. We always want some quick fix. That the big pharma with this new medical industry, I don't really believe that they were evil enough to make this happen the way it's gone from the 1800s, or at least the 1920s until today. 100 years of amphetamine use, and 80 years of methamphetamine use. I didn't think they saw it, y'all. I think it would have been thrown in the deepest part of this sea, the ingredients for it. Back in the 60s, like I said, that's about the time they quit using it medically for colds and whatnot. They had benzodrine, I believe, and then you could just get ephedrine itself instead of methamphetamine. Ephedrine makes methamphetamine, by the way. That's the difference in between them. She's with ephedrine, and they couldn't see no real medical use for it. But American pharmacists, big pharma in America, they can find a use for anything that makes you feel good and you're gonna take and you're gonna want. That's the trick to it. And so in the late 60s, and I was a victim of this, I was given 40 milligrams of amphetamine in kindergarten. I've told y'all this before, because I didn't want to sleep during the required hour at kindergarten. Back in the day, you had to sleep. They made you sleep for 1 hour. Well, I didn't like that. So when the teacher would get behind the desk and be reading her Lewis L'Amour novel or whatever she's doing, I'd creep out the damn room like Indian on the hillside and go out and do something, because I didn't want to sleep. I'd take a nap. My granny, I wasn't raised taking a nap at 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock, after lunch. And well, they say I was labeled me hyper, and just because of what the teacher said. And this was 1969, y'all, 1969. And 40 milligrams of amphetamine is the common dose in the Ritalin and Adderall, I believe, are the same drug. But my grandma went in there and straightened that up, like I said, and that's what we need to do. We need to discuss what's going on and go straighten it up in our lives, personally, each one. But so from that, they started using it for hyperactivity, basically turning kids into zombies. It did do this with some children, but the thing is, I'm sitting here wiping my nose with a wet Kleenex because I don't want to take amphetamine to dry it up, or some chemical to dry it up. Well, some kids are just, they're like a blank disc, man. They're ready to be loaded up with some info. They're taking in things. World is new to them. They're excited. Everything's great. They're learning. They're asking questions. They're running around. They're bugging you. They're not doing what you want. They're not sitting down and be quiet and being quiet and shutting up and listening. No, there's got to be some authority figures, and the ones that buck on that, they're called hyper, and then you give them dope. No, that probably means your kid is a thinker. It probably means your kid is active and healthy and wants to do things other than sit in a boring class. Did you not go to school? Did you not go to school? You're going to tell me back then when teachers actually really taught or were getting your ass or even could carry a ruler around and pop your knuckles every once in a while when you wasn't when you were sleeping or wasn't acting right, we had the different. But it's mostly boring. It's not. It's to conform everybody into one thing. It's to tell everybody the same indoctrinated lie. And the ones that don't want to pay attention, it may not be that they know about the New World Order at 5 years old or 10 years old. It may just be that it's boring and they don't want to hear none of that crap. Life outside is more fun. Most kids are gazing out the window. Oh, no, he's gazing out the window. His mind's wandering. Your mind is going to wander in a classroom unless you got a teacher that's really stimulating that mind or has picked each individual child's personality and their skill, what they're good at. That's what the teacher was supposed to be doing in the kindergarten class. That's what the teachers are supposed to be doing in elementary school, looking for the basics in the child as they teach them reading, writing, and arithmetic. Look what they're trying to teach them now. Now they're shoving all kinds of things down their throat. Now they even changed the math. Now they got Common Core math where you got to write all this stuff down, like 3 + 3 = 6. I'm like, oh, man, let's put it down like this, and tens and ones and write things out. Wow. No wonder kids are acting up and don't know how to act. But back in the day, if the behavior was at a certain level, or if the teacher knew how to control her classroom and they just didn't hire anybody, and I mean that too, because I'm raised by school teachers, by the way, and they was all tough women, and never, matter of fact, they left that stuff in their drawer. They told the parents don't bring it. They wasn't nurses. They don't pass out dope to kids. Well, I remember my mom asking that principal one time, who do you think I am? I'm a teacher, not a nurse. And ain't nothing wrong with the boy. He needs to be acting right. He needs an authority figure besides me because he's done bucking on me. There was a system in place a long time ago, and it worked. But no, they didn't want to. They brought up the paddling. No, they ain't gonna put your hands on my kid. 3 licks on the ass is better than your kid being on dope. Because here's the other thing. Probably why it affects me a little bit different is because back in the 60s, my dad was a Vietnam Green Beret. He was a Green Beret in the Vietnam War. And they take him, he stayed over there, y'all. He's over there 4 tours. And there was a lot of housewives. We were in Fort Benning at that time, between Fort Bragg and Fort Benning. And there was a lot of those housewives back in the days. This was the mid-60s and into the 70s. And they'd be depressed. They wasn't cleaning up their house. They didn't look like Susie Homemaker or Mrs. Cleaver on Leave It to Beaver. You know, they wasn't being Donna Reed, you know, and the things that they had to face in society and all the pressures. And they jack them up with amphetamines. It was called the RJ7s and the RJ8s. People used to call them black beauties. They were common. They passed them out to housewives. All you had to do is say, my husband's over in Vietnam. Here's a prescription for dope. And they'd eat those pills, and they sit around, drink coffee, and smoke cigarettes, and clean their house, and they'd all get back to that Susie Homemaker lifestyle that they were being programmed into at that time. Don't think about the old man. Don't think about this. It made them feel good. Probably about the only time that drug was ever used humanely was to give it to housewives to make them feel better, but still, the side effects are unreal. I'm not saying a bad thing about my mom. Nobody's going to do that, and because it was common in mid-1960s, and I was born in 1964, and there were no side effects or warnings to pregnant women, so she took it while she was pregnant with me, as with my sister Kathy, lucky me, I never had no problem with it, but I got 2 sisters that did pretty major problems with it, and matter of fact, one of them just career will never stop, but then the grandchildren, well, they didn't do nothing, and we had one in our family, and I'm just gonna leave it out there. You can look up my history if you want to. But I had a nephew and down in Florida, he was the model kid, the one you'd want to have. So always said yes, ma'am, no, sir. Most polite thing. Went to church with his mom on Sundays, Saturdays, because he's a Seventh-day Adventist. Went to church with his mom, ate at the dinner table, kept up and watched TV with his parents at night. Good kid, just good overall kid. And him and his girlfriend had a problem. Guess what? Over meth. She had tried it for the first time and she liked it. And he said, no, we're not going to have that in the family. And they just got married and had a little kid. Well, she, instead of letting her experiment and being wise, he wasn't wise at the time. He just knew, he had knowledge that that's not good. And instead of just letting her go and get it out of her system or whatever, made a fuss about it and they split up. Well, one night he's sitting there drinking with some buddies. They wouldn't let him see his kid. All this got bad. And he had a restraining order and everything. Couldn't see his kid. So he's all depressed and mad. He goes sits with some buddies and makes drinks a few beers. And guess what? And takes a couple of Adderall, amphetamines. And 12 hours later, he killed 2 men. I mean, went in there and killed him with a knife because he was even thinking. Yeah, like talk about making you a zombie and focus on something. He focused on killing people, y'all. This was my fucking nephew, and it breaks my heart. And it's not a black eye on my family. It's just a tragic moment where history of drug use, and I'm telling you about now, my experience with this comes from. He methodically thought it out. He even put bags over his shoes. He used a knife so there wouldn't be no gun control issue because him and his dad are gun enthusiasts and had a lot. Over $100,000 worth of weapons, and they could have used any kind of gun, could have made this any kind of thing, but no, he used a knife. He went in there and no matter what was going on, he did the wrong thing, but he thought it out. Yeah, he focused on that. And that's not only my life experience and the hell that my family's been through and that he's going through. He's doing 2 life sentences down in the state of Florida because the attorney brought up this history. This is where I learned it from. Clinton Thomas down there. It was instant death penalty. This is Florida, y'all. This is Florida. Okay, you don't get away with murder in Florida. Nobody does because they did the Eileen Juarez, the lady killer. She should have just got life because she had been abused and she had a reason for it. But no, you can't convince a jury down in Florida. You ain't gonna do nothing. But Clinton Thomas, the attorney down there, saw this when he listened to all me and our family talk. He talked to each one of us individually. And yeah, this is real personal, so y'all best be listening. He talked to each one of us individually about it, and he saw the connection. He saw it. Thank God. And thank God I got this wisdom now from this man. So thank you, Andy. His name's Andy. We call him Andy, but his name's Clinton Thomas. He's a public defender down there. He saw where the grandparents, the parents, and then how it was brought down generationally. So he was able to give them 2 life sentences instead of 2 death penalties. You see what I'm getting at now? So there is a generational effect of this drug, and it's not good. There's a balance in life and there's a balance in how we feel. We are emotional people. We should be hollering. We should be sad. These are all good things. I mean, they even got a pill for people that laugh or cry too much. We used to just watch that when I was a kid and somebody got emotional, one of my aunts or something, or anybody in the neighborhood anywhere. You see it. Remember back in the day, if somebody got too excited, you slapped them in the face and brought them back. Now that's all abuse now. Just take a pill for it. Well, this generational effect is insane. And it's just gone. Everybody knows it's out of hand, y'all. But these side effects are what I want to get at. For something that makes you feel so good, you're going to have to feel bad. Drinking's the same way. Everything's the same way. You drink too much, man, you feeling good that night. You're a funny guy. You make an ass of yourself. You wake up next morning, you got a hangover, or you're all beat up because you got some false bravado. So that's the side effects of alcohol, and the side effects of amphetamines is you up for God knows how long, and then you feel like crap for not getting no sleep and not eating and not doing anything. The side effects of it, but look at the mental aspect of it. This and the psychotropic drugs. Oh my God, we got to be paying attention to this. Look, all their story. I'm not going to talk about the mass shootings and who did them, who did what, or psyops or anything. But isn't the story always some white guy going in that's been taking psychotropic drugs and writing a bunch of crazy shit on Facebook or the social media or something? Huh? So that's the story they're telling, and they didn't expect us to put 2 and 2 together? No, I've got it in my fucking family embedded, and excuse my language because this is a very important video. It's embedded in my family's, basically the DNA. We're victims. I don't say victims. We've lived through it because we all survived it. And we got 1 casualty, and well, actually 3 casualties because the 2 men got arrested. So horrible things happen because of this. That's the side effects of anything. If you're trying to change your mood or your behavior with chemicals, think of what you're doing. Just think of what you just said. You're going to change your behavior or your moods. All right, first of all, look at that. What's wrong with your behavior and your moods? Why can't you be you? Because they have made boxes for us to fit in. Let me tell you something about the way these people think, y'all. I'm going to go way back to wheat. This is how the New World Order corporate damn bastards think right here. Go back to wheat, man. Wheat used to be real tall, 7, 8 foot tall. When they made the combine for wheat, well, it was the diameter of the wheel wasn't big enough to begin with to take it down all the way. So instead of making the wheel bigger on the combine, they GMO'd wheat to make it shorter. Look it up. They work the machine around the nature. They work the machine around nature. Wow. A man's in a battlefield and he's there having to be awake to save his own life in an impossible situation. And he's wanting to sleep. The body wants to sleep. They give him a chemical to change natural sleep. You get it? A man don't want to kill another man. They give him a chemical that'll make him want to kill another man. A man don't want to live in fear. They give him a chemical that makes him live in fear for their bidding to fit the machine. Most every drug they give you, the reason why you're depressed, a drug's not going to help you with it. If you ungodly life events happen to all of us, and some of us don't recover. I'm just learning now because of some of these events in my past, just recent past, like last 4 months, and why I've lost so much ground that I've gained over really traumatic things that happened to me in my past. It's because that, y'all, I don't want to get too personal with this. There's a connection here with the way we're living and the way we're thinking about our feelings and our moods and our behavior. Everything that's abnormal about you, or they say if the doctor or a school teacher or an authority figure tells you you're being abnormal, they're lying. They're lying. It is normal to be hyper. It is normal to be emotional. It is normal to want to run around. Yes, we control this, and as we get older, we mature. We learn what we can and can't do. But we can't be giving kids dope while they're in school age kids dope. 40 milligrams of amphetamine, take your own, well, don't do it, but just think if you were taking that. There's nothing wrong with the way you are. There's nothing wrong with what you're doing. Just look back at old 70s and 80s TV shows and look how we used to act and talk to each other. And then everybody didn't run off and get depressed. Look at the way they made what they've done with the situation with bullies. Instead of getting the bully and pulling him out and counseling him, there's most of these schools, and I've been hearing this, Australia and here in America, will take the victim from the bully and the victim of bully and get them to go to counseling. Oh, man, come on, it's okay. What can you do to work around this? Now, you got to do nothing with your life. Tell your kid to go up there and bust them in the mouth. You don't start giving them dope at an early age. You start teaching them about reality, and you only teach it at the teachable moments. You don't go put a bunch of weight on kids like this Common Core math or throwing history or sexual orientation into a classroom. You don't give them a whole bunch at one time, but as things come up, the teachable moments, you teach your child. You come home from school and then his shirt's all rusty and he's all dirtied up from some boy beating his butt. Tell him next time when he gets in your space, gets behind your hand, pop him with the other one. And you're going to get beat up again, but he won't come do it no more. That's what we take the little things out because we want to straighten it up with a chemical. Oh, you're all depressed because this kid's beating you up. Instead of defending yourself, we're going to put you into an emotional coma so you don't feel nothing. Oh, my loved one just died. My child just died. It's a bad thing happened in my life. I don't want to live no more. We're going to give you a pill instead of telling you to get through it. And I'm going to say something right here now for real. There are some things out there for in the moment, not to be prescribed as medicine and all, that actually work. I don't know how good they are for you, but like a Xanax. When people are at a stage where they're almost out of control of their emotions or anything, or overly sad and may harm themselves, that would be the time to give them something like that. But they prescribe things like Xanax to people like preventative medicine, like, well, you got to take this at 9, 12, and 4, and that way, in case anything comes up you can't handle, you'll be ready to deal with it right then, and you won't have that. No, life is very real. The more harder you live it, the realer it gets. Things happen to us, y'all. Bad things happen to us. I know. And it's sad. And sometimes, man, we crawl up under the covers and we don't never want to come out. Sometimes we don't want to go out there and face the world. What do you think? I ain't that way. Matter of fact, I'm pretty agoraphobic and I don't like being in big places like Walmart. I mean, bad things just happen, and we got to learn where we're not connected anymore is one of the problems, and the family unit being destroyed and ripped apart is another problem. But we used to have each other to bond to. And then it seemed like in the 60s and 70s, we go to a counselor or we go to a psychiatrist. Well, at first it was a psychiatrist. And then that's when the heavy drug use in America started. Everybody for every little thing. Man, my dog got run over right in front of me, man. Just smashed his head off. I'm never going to forget this. Yes, that was traumatic. And yes, you probably will never forget it. But you'll get over it. But you don't go to the doctor and get put on Prozac. You don't take some idiotic drug like Paxil. All these things will do nothing but kill you. You're down and out because you're tired. Hey, quit working so many hours. Deal with the situation that's making you upset or making you weak. You know, that makes you feel like you're being weak. We take drugs to make us feel stronger, to make us feel better. Well, when you're not feeling so good and you won't feel better, maybe go talk to a. I mean, I'm not going to sit there and say what you should do and not do. All I'm doing, and I'm going to get this across real quick. I ain't judging none of y'all because I've been there. I just told you my family history. So don't sit there and say I'm judging you. I'm just trying to relay a little bit of knowledge that may save your life, may save your grandchild that's not even born yet's life. This stays in our DNA. This stays in our genes somehow. I don't know how. It's a chemical. It's a chemical, and it alters the brain. It alters the body. So somehow it's going to alter our procreation and the life coming after. That next generation will want it a little bit more. I say like my generation. And the generation after that, they're going to want it a little bit more. When they get it, it's going to affect them differently. They really did create a super soldier monster in the 1940s with that methamphetamine. They really did, y'all. They was giving it to men to kill and to kill longer. And now they're giving it to your kid to sit down in a classroom. Yet people that are taking some of these drugs are killing people, and they're killing them really good. Wow. That's my point. I'm not a doctor. I'm going to say it again. And I damn sure ain't telling you what to do. But if your child's on Ritalin or if amphetamine use is in your home or psychotropic drug use is in your home, just look around you in America at what it's done to people. Look at their lives. How many has it helped? How many just get through that time period anyway? Some people say, well, I only took depression medicine for a couple of years and I got over it. Well, you might have done that anyway without the drugs. Go somewhere and get away. That's the best thing. Go somewhere and escape. Escapism is very important in mankind and human beings. We need to escape every once in a while. That's why a lot of drugs get used, especially cocaine and methamphetamine, because they will make you feel better. They'll make everything seem brighter and happier. And man, some people even says it makes their sex life better, all these things. But it ain't worth it. The balance, knowing that some things are going to be bad and some things are going to be good, and somewhere in the middle is you. And like I'm going through a bad time right now, but nothing's going to get me through it but me. Just the time. Wait till it's over. There's nothing, no drug going to help me with it. And I'm fighting back my depression because I've learned about it. And I'm not taking drugs because I learned about the drugs. Because they had me taking the Seroquel and another one way back in the day when I was depressed in the mid 2000s, around 2007 when my sister died. I lost it, and I had 10 years of the hydrocodone. I mean, I just see how the pharma magic drugs are a lie. And plus, if the ones that do work, they are temporary. If you're being prescribed something on long term, and that's just that damn pharmacy company paying off that doctor. That's just that pharmacy company paying off that doctor to prescribe you something as long as you think you need it. Ever notice how you become the doctor when it comes to, you see your doctor every once a month to get you a prescription, right? And he says, well, hey, how's it working? You need any more? And they'll say that, and I'm just going to do this prescription out for you because it's working, right? And he said, yeah. Well, because something in that drug, believe it or not, makes you feel good. I mean, drug, yeah, look it up. I mean, that's why you taking drugs. Something makes you feel good, or something is a crutch to get you through something even. Maybe even that. But most of them just make you feel good, and it tricks your mind into wanting that. You got to really be smart about your mind, your situation, your emotional being. And the fact is that this society has put it up there like it's wrong to be sad. It's wrong to laugh too much. It's wrong to cry too much. It's wrong to just be you. You've got to be like this. You got to be like this. You look at the magazines. You look at the TV. I don't look like that woman. I don't look like this guy. I can't afford them shoes, man. Oh, man, you're stealing, and now you're taking drugs to feel better. Once again, maybe you should watch some nature documentaries or something. I don't know about the world man made, but the earth is a hard place to live on. It's beautiful and it's real. It's real, and life is life. And you should be living it, man, and feeling every bit of it, every bit of the sadness, the anger, the happiness, the joy, the love, just finding something new. That's what we got to get at. Remembering that is normal. That your kid screaming around in a school seat is normal. That makes him I'm not gonna say a better kid, but it makes him a healthy, intelligent, thinking kid. They're beyond the classroom, because if you're teaching a young mind, man, kids are always looking. They're always looking, raising their hand when it's something they want to know about, right? But when it's something they don't want to know about, man, their mind's gonna want to just like that. That's normal. Who said they need a drug for that? The system. Who told you this? The people that invented this. for a runny nose. Well, I hate to use this little analogy, but there's my meth. There's my amphetamine. Uh, I get on YouTube every once in a while, like I did yesterday, and scream and holler at folks. Here's how I release some pressure. The rest of it, I cry, I gnash my teeth. I jump for joy when it's good things. I live it. I ride it through. They're moments. Moments in time does not mean monthly prescriptions. You get it? What, if you were feeling good all the time, you think they'd have a pill out there to make you feel bad? Huh, think about that. They make more money off the sick than they do healthy. And some of y'all out there, they have made up illnesses. Like they could even put up hey, this pill is for such and such of these symptoms. And maybe you'll be like, hey, okay, I got that, and I got that, and I got that. I might need to take that pill. See what I'm getting at? It's a form of magic trick. And it's gotten out of hand. It's gotten out of hand. Matter of fact, most every single one of you out there have your own personal experience. You could tell me. I bet we could sit down and talk about things and literally cry at how sad this has gotten, how sad the people in America are just dying like flies and have been since they've been pushing these drugs. And now it's just epidemic, and we got more people, even the things we see in the news, the sad events, whether they're true or false, it don't matter. People have been killed at these events, and they blame it on psychotropic drug use, and primarily by white gun owners and white male gun owners. So that's just the way it is. The average age on that's like 23 years old. Look that up too. Or even under that, it's like high school kids killing high school kids, or getting out of high school and going back and killing, whatever. You see the side effects. You see the truth now about it. That is the truth about amphetamines and methamphetamines. Look how they were created. Look at what they were created for. Look how they still, that's something that makes you feel good. They're going to make money off of it. You see what I'm saying? If it makes you feel good, they're going to make money off of it. And they know this. Because look at the history, and look at your own personal life. Look at what your parents may have done. Even talk to your parents or your grandparents and ask them, say, hey, it ain't no big deal. I'm not judging you. I'm not getting mad at you. Nothing. I just want to know the truth so I can deal with my life and my emotions a little bit better without drugs. Did you take drugs while you was pregnant with me? Because if you was born probably from, believe it or not, but if you was born probably from the 90s under, your parents were probably told some things were okay but they just started putting warning labels on shit in the last 30 years, y'all. But basically, if you're under 30 years old, you probably, over 30 years old, you probably had parents that did this, and you don't, even if you don't take drugs, or if you're taking them and had a bad experience or something like that, or you don't deal with things like everybody else, and that then you possibly had drug use in your family. Like I said, it was rampant in the 50s and 60s. Y'all, almost every housewife out there had to be just like Donna Reed. I don't know if y'all know who she is, but look at her. It's like the perfect mom, Miss Cleaver as well. Subservient housewife that kept the kids in a perfect house and everything. And they couldn't do it. They get in for that kind of bad feeling, or I'm worthless, jack them up. So it's been there all this time. Listen, you get what I'm saying, but you got to really look at yourself and look at what's going on. Nobody should be judged on this. And I'm gonna say this again: drugs aren't a crime, y'all. Drugs are a social problem. Having bad behavior is a crime. Doing criminal things is a crime. There are things that can enhance even that activity, and it's been proven over and over again. So that it's not just me talking. But what's going on with this in our society and in our own personal lives is insane. We got to stop it. So the way to stop it is to talk about it. I'm sorry about rambling on. It's almost like I'm not wiping my nose, if you get what I mean. But it's a very real thing. And I believe, especially what I saw in West Virginia with the street drug use and what I've seen in Ohio and even down south, what I've seen in my own family, it is epidemic. And it's based on a lie, and it's being fueled by very rich people trying to just make more money off of your suffering. So if something's really helping you, that's not for me to decide. And that's what I was trying to get back at a little while ago. That's not for me to decide. I am not the one to be hollering at about this. I am only talking about this giant white elephant in the room of almost every house in America and many houses around the world. You get what I'm saying? I'm just pointing it out. So you think, you be the smart person. You be sober for a moment and just think. Get under a tree and just sit down for a minute and think. This is no good, and we got to stop it somehow. And the only way we can stop it, because it's legal, is through awareness. of what it really causes. It's fixing the quick fix in the moment worth being taking those drugs for any reason and altering any part of your brain or your body. Think about that. I love you. Peace. Be healthy so you can be smart and be free. And but most of all, please, please be you. It's great to be you. Let me tell y'all something. I love you being you. I don't want fake people. I don't want to meet nobody off the cover of a magazine. I don't want to talk to somebody that sounds like CNN talking points. I want to hear you. I want to walk beside you in this journey called life. And these things that we got to change and be real about. That's what I want to know about you. So your love for being that way, you can't say you're not. You're appreciated and respected for being you. So always be you. I love you. And don't live in fear because that's keep you from being you.